February 20th, 2024 is called to order. This meeting is being streamed live and you will be available for viewing on the PPS Board of Education YouTube channel. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How y'all doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great today. We have a work session with 2 topics in only 1 hour. So we're going to be done by 6 o'clock or earlier. First, we'll be hearing from Dr. Adams with a review of the 23 graduation rate data. I do have questions, and I sent them to Roseanne to send out too, because it's like 20-some questions.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to see how many you answer now, how many I can get in, and then the rest.
Maybe the team will answer that.
Whoever, yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
They all for you.
I'm not sure Roseanne knows that she's receiving.
Yeah, she got them. You received my email, right?
I'm not following.
Okay, so I sent you an email that have the questions regarding the graduation data. Yeah, you can just go ahead and just give those out to those. If they don't answer them tonight, some of them tonight, I'll ask them, and then the rest they can answer, within 28 hours.
28. 28.
I just threw out a number.
It's gonna be a long meeting.
No significance. All right, and then next we'll be hearing from Ms. Loretta about the Equity Center Principal Pipeline Initiative. And then following this work session, we will move downstairs to a special meeting and a budget work session. So we will begin with Dr. Adams. You're up.
Thank you. Good evening, board of directors. Happy to be here for another of our data dives tonight to talk about not only the graduation rate for the class of 2023, but also their post-secondary readiness. As you probably saw in the presentation, we have these 4 guiding questions. What is our rate for the class of 2023 and how does that compare to the state of Oregon and over time? What are our high school our grad rates by high school? How did this class perform on the various indicators of post-secondary readiness? And then I think what I've found to be most typical of the questions board directors have is really like the what, so what's next? So what is our reaction and action steps in response to the data that we had? So we're going to try to cover all of that in the next 30 minutes or less.
All right.
So as we discuss these data, it's going to be important to remind the public and the board that these graduates in 2023 were our students whose freshman year was interrupted by the pandemic. So they had about 2/3 of a school year in person and they were sent home in March. And then they had their entire sophomore year online in virtual instruction, and then came back that next year with some forms of hybrid before we got back completely face-to-face full-time. And as you know, we've had some, as has been shown through our enrollment loss, I know I can speak for high school principals when I say there was great effort to reconnect with students who had, some of whom simply, we didn't know what happened to them, they quote unquote disappeared. So I just wanted to throw that out into the ether as a consideration as we think about these data tonight. On this slide, you have our 4-year grad rate in red and our 5-year completion rate in blue. As you can see, our current grad rate and completion rates both declined slightly. For the class of 2023, our grad rate is 84.5%, which is a decrease of about 1.2 percentage points over the previous class. Additionally, our 5-year completion rate is now at 89.5%, a slight dip of a 0.5 percentage point compared to the class of 2022. For this year's class, 2023, we had a total of 2,993 graduates out of over 3,500 students in the graduating total cohort. When we think about our grad rate compared to the state, even with our slight dip in graduation rate, PPS continues to outperform the state of Oregon in 4-year grad rate data. For the class of 2023, Oregon posted a grad rate of 81.3%, which was holding steady to their previous grad rate, while PPS grad rate was 3.2 percentage points higher at 84.5%, as I previously mentioned.
Quick question. Do you want us to ask you questions during or after you get done?
Or in the next 28 hours.
I'm gonna ask if you could hold questions
Okay.
and see if we can get through the presentation pretty quickly, and then we could have a robust conversation. This screen shows our graduation and completion rates by race over the past 3 years. The most recent grad rate is shown on the top in the darkest shade of blue. The differential grad and completion rates are shown and fall along those predictable and unacceptable lines of race and ethnicity. Our student groups with the highest rates include our Asian, white, and multiracial students who are white and Asian. It is also important to call out our fifth-year cohort completers, which is something that the state tracks as we do as well. You can see those differences between and among the student groups. Here are our one-year differences in graduation rates comparing the classes of 2022 and 2023. As you can see, the Hispanic/Latinx and multiracial and not underserved grad rates remain relatively flat, while all the other grad rates experienced a decline. Here, the African American grad rate has decreased by over 3 percentage points, and the Asian grad rate decreased by 1.2 percentage points. While the Native and Pacific Islander rates have also decreased, interpretation of these differences should be made with caution, as there are very few students in either group, typically around 25 or so students in each of those groups compared to the other groups that have hundreds or thousands of students in them. It's important to note that our 5-year cohort completed percentage experienced increases in the Black and multiracial groups. And here are our year-to-year differences in 5-year completion rates for students by race. I'll give you a moment to study those differences. And here are our graduation rates by each high school. With the exception of 2 schools, all high schools earn graduation rates at or above 77%. For this year in particular, Jefferson High School reached a grad rate of over 91%. 6 of our high schools graduated over 90% of their students. Next, we'll look at year-to-year changes in grad rate by high school. As you can see, about half of the schools showed an increase and about half of the schools showed a decrease. Of note, Alliance and Jefferson are seeing the largest one-year increases, while McDaniel and MLC are showing the largest one-year decreases. As was the case with graduation rate, when we look at 5-year completion rates by high school, we can see that almost all schools have 5-year completion rates of roughly 80% or higher. Overall, PPS continues to see progress in the percentage of students who graduate within 5 years. This is, of course, a testament to the hard work of our principals, their staffs, our students, and their families and caregivers. Next, we have our year-over-year change in 5-year completion rate by high school. Here you can see that MLC had the greatest positive change with an increase of 16 percentage points, while other schools show a mix of increases and decreases ranging from plus 2.5 percentage points to minus 4.2 percentage points. While one of our secondary measures of success is grad rate or high school completion, we also are keeping an eye on how prepared students are for college and/or careers. Prior to adopting graduation rate as a board goal in June of 2021, the board had a high school goal for students centered on post-secondary readiness. So next we'll examine our district trends in this area. As a reminder, there are several indicators of post-secondary readiness. There are actually 6 that we are tracking and monitoring: successful completion of advanced placement courses, International Baccalaureate or IB courses, successful completion of dual credit courses, completion of a career and technical pathway, attaining the seal of biliteracy, and or successful attainment of a post-secondary readiness score on a standardized measure, either that being the SAT, the SAT, or the ACT. Overall, post-secondary readiness data are shown on the screen along with the previous board goal for context. Data are shown for the last 4 years, with the most recent year shown in the deepest color purple. As you can see, post-secondary readiness for the class of 2023 decreased overall and for each student group except multiracial students and Pacific Islander students. Also of note is the fact that most students are meeting the previous board goal of 56%, with the exception of Black and Latinx students, Native students, and Pacific Islanders, excuse me. On the next few slides, we'll unpack the post-secondary readiness indicators that come together to paint this picture of college and career readiness. We'll start with advanced placement AP courses. Shown on the screen are the percentage of students who earned a C or better in at least 3 AP courses. You will note that between this year and last year, the overall percentage has increased for all PPS students, white students, and multiracial students. The percentages of Black and Latinx students meeting this indicator was flat or decreased ever so slightly. International Baccalaureate course completion remains very low for Native, Black, and Pacific Islander students. Overall, the rate for all students decreased, likely credited to decreases among groups of white students, Asian students, and multiracial students who are underserved, or also students of color. The overall percentage, when we think about dual credit, of students completing 3 or more dual credit courses rebounded with an increase from 2022 to the class of 2023. Increases were observed for Black, Native, multiracial underserved students, and white students. Next, we'll take a deeper dive at the percentage of students who completed a career and technical pathway, which currently involves completing 3 or more courses in the same pathway. While overall the percentage of CTE rates has increased, decreases are noted for students of color, including our Black students, our Latinx students, Pacific Islander students, and multiracial students who are underserved. Biliteracy remains an asset in today's global economy, so we know it's important for students to have that skill if they can attain it. For the class of 2023, the percentage of students earning the seal declined by 9 percentage points to 11.7. And in fact, year-to-year decreases are noted for all student groups. It will be important here to let the public and the board know that the requirements changed coming into this year for earning the seal. And we think that had something to do with the decrease. We also examine students' performance on college entrance exams as a measure of post-secondary readiness. Each of these exams has a threshold or a score that indicates post-secondary readiness. Here, as has been the trend with PPS assessment data, performance varies along the lines of race, with Black students showing the lowest achievement level among all groups, although they demonstrated a performance increase of almost 2 percentage points. So overall, both our 4-year cohort graduation rate and our 5th-year completion rate showed some slight decreases for the class of 2023 as compared to the class of 2022. There remain our unacceptable generational and persistent gaps along the lines of race and ethnicity. And overall, post-secondary readiness rates declined between 2022 and 2023, with those persistent gaps, again, prevalent across those measures. At this point, I'm going to call on my colleagues from the school performance team to talk about the PPS response and action steps.
Good evening. I'm Margaret Calvert. I'm one of the assistant superintendents with Fordham Public Schools. And we have a group with us today to talk through theory of actions that we have in place and some responses to the data that you're seeing in front of you. We started in 2017 to build out a high school success plan. It was in response to some investments made by the state to what we call Measure 98. That high school success plan has a specific theory of action that we've had in place and held essentially in place consistently for the last 7 years, with specific strategies that you will see that will highlight that will surface some of the changes that we are looking at to support our students of color and our focal students in particular. Overall, we're seeing a decline for the first time in quite a number of years, and that the differences in graduation and post-secondary readiness, the persistent gaps, there are some spaces that we're seeing some improvements that we want to highlight as well. In general, the theory of action is grounded in looking at focal student work and looking at focal students and saying, how are we working to provide them not only access, but successful completion that then moves them towards graduation. Part of this work also starts in the freshman year with our freshman success teams. So we look at, there are 4 specific places that we are intentional about looking at race and disrupting predictability of outcomes based on race, improving instruction and alignment, engaging students through meaningful relationships, and preparing students for post-secondary success. We do that by targeting efforts towards our focal students, ensure that all of these impediments that we are seeing for student success, we remove as many barriers as possible. Then we'll graduate students that are ready to take part in post-secondary, the next step. So that's sort of the general theory. It's embedded in our high school success plan that is tied to our strategic plan, and then also it's connected to our instructional framework. So we're trying to create alignment and coherence across the system. But then we'll talk about specific things within the plan that we will use to leverage and address some of the things that surfaced in the data this year.
Yeah, so John Franco, Chief of Schools. So I think it's important so the high school success plan, as Margaret mentioned, was initially started as part of the Measure 98 work, which was freshman success. And it has adapted and evolved based on data annually. So this is something that the team annually reviews. And when I say team, it's a collective approach in regards to, first of all, principals, high school principals have to be immensely involved in this work. Also members of OSP, Office of Teaching and Learning. If you look at the high school success plan, you'll see 3 big indicators or goals. Improve instruction and aligned assessment. Right? So that's been a big piece. You've seen it in some of the math and the ELA presentations, working to establish coherence there in terms of utilizing the curriculum. Let's say collaboration from a PLC perspective has been extremely important. And then just getting in the classrooms, right? That's the biggest piece, getting in the classrooms and having our building leaders provide feedback on how it's going. Engage students through relationships. I mean, that has been a consistent question from this board about how important that piece is, about setting aside time every day to establish connection. I think we all know that students learn better when they feel like the content is relevant. And the only way they feel like it's relevant is that if we have a connection, if I know what your interests are, where you're from, all that good stuff, and then enveloping those pieces within the instruction. And then, you're preparing for post-secondary success. We know that high school graduation completion is a step. It's a door. We're also very cognizant about, okay, what are we doing to prepare our kids for beyond high school? So we're tracking, and you're seeing we're incorporating strategies in terms of removing barriers to AP, dual credit, IB. Like those are pieces, like we want access for all of our students in those classes. Also, it means sometimes, it's the self-efficacy piece, right? if I go into a classroom that's maybe AP or IB and say, I don't see students that look like me, you know, it's a self-selection piece. So we want to make sure, right, that we are creating those avenues to where not only we have increased enrollment, but it's support while students are enrolled in those classes. And I'll turn it over to Lauren to talk a little bit about some of the MPG work, which has been distinct. And even though we've had a slide with graduation, you could see the trajectory over the course of the last 10 years.
Thank you. Good evening. Lorna Paspa-Flores, Senior Director of Schools. Part of our efforts with high school graduation include supporting students who need credit recovery or need to learn in a way that's different. So for the class of 2023, 676 of those graduates across all of our schools and PPS earned credit through Portland Evening Scholars or Summer Scholars. We also expanded Portland Evening Summer Scholars during the pandemic with ESSER funds. It used to be that we just had classes at Benson High School. We moved into several other high schools, and we will be returning to Benson when
Yes.
back.
Yes, yes.
But we will also be maintaining some of those additional options. Roosevelt is a pretty important one because it's very hard for a lot of our students from St. John's to come in for an evening class at Benson. But we also expanded to Franklin, to McDaniel, temporarily to the Kenton campus, and to Roosevelt. So we saw 676 of those graduates earn credit, and some of the statistics are really important. Of Native students, 25% of them earned evening or summer scholar credits toward graduation. For Black students who graduated, it was about 35%. Very similar for Hispanic Latino students, 45% for Native Hawaiian students. So we know that we are reaching a lot of students who may not otherwise complete all of their graduation requirements. We also have virtual scholars, which embeds online classes taught by PPS teachers who are at a hub, but can zoom in to students in all of our comprehensive and most of our alternative schools. And students can pick up a class that they need for graduation through virtual scholars. Some of our students prefer to learn that way. Others maybe didn't pass a class the first time, and so this is another way that they can access that credit. So we saw 566 of the class of 2023 had earned credit through virtual scholars. So we're proud of those two programs and our other multiple pathways programs for really working with our comprehensive and focus option high schools and alternative schools to really help more people to graduate. I'll turn it over to Fraser.
Good afternoon, Chris Frazier, Senior Director of Schools as well. So again, as a system, we've created some very tangible actions that we are hoping will help increase college readiness for our students. So some of the things that we've done that area Superintendent Calvert spoke to was deliberate support in ninth grade. We recognize that in ninth grade, there's a huge transition from middle school to high school. And so there's been some very intentional support students in that journey. One thing that we've created in all of our high schools is a ninth grade student success team or academy model. So ninth grade students take a freshman inquiry course, which is taught by one core teacher, as well as, and this can be in English, math, and or science. And then on that other day, they are then involved in freshman inquiry. So students are building that relationship with that teacher. So they are seeing that teacher every single day. And to Dr. Franco's point, it helps build that relational trust that is needed between the student and the teacher and it better supports the transition into high schools. Teachers who support the academy have a release period, which also provides an opportunity in which they can come together as a team and discuss bright points with the students that they are all sharing. There's an opportunity as well for them to hold, staffing for students. So again, if they want to reach out to parents, if they want to reach out to other support staff, counselors, school social workers that can help students navigate the ninth grade year a lot better. It's another way to just provide additional wraparound services and supports. This is a research-based model that comes from the University of Chicago, which supports ninth grade on-track success. Again, students having success their first year in high school fare better at reaching graduation. Additionally, what we've also done is expanded coursework for all students. So some examples in some buildings include this notion of advanced coursework for all. So you may hear AP Human Geography for all, where a specific grade level is all taking that class as a way to help promote them and prepare them for college readiness. You'll hear in some schools IB for all, it may be a certain grade level where students are taking IB language arts. It's a very interesting model, and it's creating that culture of college readiness or secondary success for all of our students, regardless of what their interest may be post-secondary. So again, advanced coursework for all is seen in 7 of our 9 comprehensive high schools, and we're seeing a lot of success in that area. Lastly, we also have expanded dual credit options to increase performance for our Black and Native American students. So again, as shown, we have seen a definite increase in this area for our students that identify in these 2 areas. The largest contributing practice for Native American and Black students was successful completion of dual credit classes such as Math 115, Reading and Writing 115, and Writing 121 again allows students the opportunity to receive college readiness education, as well as preparing them and providing them college credits while they're still in high school.
Philip Beastie, Senior Director for High School Academics. I'll just close us by saying that we're going to continue ensuring that our high school students have a strong foundation in core curriculum. That's especially important at the 9th and 10th grade level as we try to continue increasing the number of students who are accessing advanced coursework as juniors and seniors. Just one thing to preview, next year we'll be adding some additional supports at the high school level to allow high schools to support our focal students in particular to access and be successful in advanced coursework, and we'll be happy to report on that later in the year. But I think at this point, we're ready for.
So I think that's what we're gonna do because we have another presentation. So I think we're gonna, if you guys wanna ask questions, just get them on the record, and then we'll move the question section to the March board meeting. So that way we can ask them there.
It'd be better just to email the questions.
You can email or you can ask. I just know I have to ask mine because I'll forget. So if you want to email or if you want to ask them, let's do that now so we can get to the next presentation, and then we will follow up with answering of the questions at the March board meeting.
So Chair, Colin, do you want to ask your question and then we'll respond at a later time?
Yeah,
In
we're
the
going
interest of time.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So if anyone got questions they want to ask, or if they want to email, that's fine.
We should email our questions too, because I'm gonna actually email mine tonight so I don't forget.
I would say email them to Roseanne, and then she can get them.
Get them twice.
Want to go ahead?
Yeah, if you want to email them or you want to ask them, it'll be on record.
Okay, I'll just ask,
Okay, yeah.
because then I'm to go home.
I'll
I'll email everybody about something else.
I'm sure you don't you tell me you're not gonna email nobody, because I know you guys a lot.
Everybody would laugh. True. So this follows up the questions that I asked earlier about, and it's more about early indicators. So, I mean, what we're seeing right now is the end result, and I'm interested in more early indicators and how we are responding to those. And the early indicators would be, students getting, Ds, so they're passing their class, but not proficient, which those students tend to get behind. So data on that we're looking at. And I'm assuming that where we had dips in graduation, that those students didn't all just drop out their senior year. So what are we seeing in that freshman, sophomore, junior years, and what are the indicators that would tell us that a student is about ready to just stop coming to school for 10 days, or just completely. So what indicators we're looking at for that. I'm interested also if we can get it, just the disaggregated data by high school on the, yeah, it's my written question on the different college and career readiness indicators. And then the final question is, I'm curious about what change happened in the seal of biliteracy. And are we making adjustments for that? That was one place that I know when we started recognizing that, it was a place where students often who hadn't been recognized for something else and something that may have been viewed as a deficit, now is like an asset and recognized as such. I'm be interested of what changed and what we're doing to help students continue to achieve that.
All right, thanks.
I've got a list going that I can email in.
Awesome.
Pro tip.
All right. Patty,
I'm sure you guys have all my questions covered.
all right.
Can we make sure that they get circulated to everybody else just so we know what other questions we want?
Yeah, absolutely. Patty, or Director Sullivan, sorry. First name. Okay, hearing nothing.
No, I'm just listening. You were asking great questions and I'm just listening right now.
Okay. And I just asked some additional questions that's not on, so you guys can cut out number 13 on the list that I have. So that one got answered. The other ones I'm still looking for. And 19, those have been answered. So I just got a couple questions. One, when we talk about our graduation rates versus our college readiness and college and career readiness, for instance, our Black students graduate at 76.3, but their college and career readiness is 44.3. So are we saying there's 30% gap that is not ready for either college or career as well? So that's the one question. What are the number of students that utilize college credits to meet graduation standards? And what are the demographics of that? And then also, based on talking about the summer school and the night school, what percentage of students of color utilizes the summer school and night school scholars program? And that's all my questions for that.
Can I ask one thing?
Absolutely.
Chair Hollins?
Yes.
Is it okay with you, after we get all of the questions, if Cheryl, Dr. Proctor and I work on grouping them into some areas so that we're not coming at you singly, but we're putting together a little bit more of a narrative?
You guys can answer the questions however you guys feel need to be
Thank
answered. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And my questions really briefly were just about the dual credit option and who are those available to? Are they available system-wide or only at certain schools? Due to the apparent, it's a positive thing, it looks like, for students to have that option.
All right. Thank you. Let's see you guys March. Are you ready?
I'm like,
No.
what is happening?
You can unsubscribe.
I need to unsubscribe. Like, what is happening?
No, it's just like here's probably getting moms.
I have lots of, do you want everybody to see? Given, do you want them all to get there? See this.
Do we have anybody online?
Yeah. She's. Sorry. You do. I just shared. There's a. It's slanted. Yes.
But it's good to get. Gosh.
That's, I'm trying to do it.
I'll get subscriptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I love the cooking. just, if I've got like feta cheese and sauce I made on the kids, I'm gonna put those ingredients in. Also, having a child, you know.
Yeah, we do.
Well, that's for our committee meeting.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, for our committee meetings.
People always post.
Might
Well, you
be-
could
they're
just
limited
change
to
it.
five,
People think
limited to five
Why did we have
I like to post.
Yeah,
I
we
get all the shares.
haven't got here
It's
yet.
just a guessing game.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
His name's
hilarious.
Nick, so we always just throw it like.
So that's- that's-
I did
Yeah,
this
like you could patch, match.
batch.
Yeah, with my, facility and operations.
Match.
committee,
I remember when.
they're regulated like 5 sides. They can't tell me that they need only 5 sides.
Cat.
It just didn't, that's a good one. Oh, I just. I love that. I've actually had a couple of instances recently where I sent a letter, wasn't in the letter, but actually. It was, you know,
Wait for them to
Not
get
many.
yeah, something going over there.
Washington Post. Subscription because.
Oh, Washington Post.
You guys need.
Yeah, I did have seconds. It's very good. She is true.
Here, Chris, maybe switch with
Help driving us a little school. My dad was teaching at a wing and teaching at the shared school.
Hey.
All right, you ready?
Okay, yes, we're ready. So while Dr. Franco is pulling up the PowerPoint presentation, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me here today. I am Loretta Benjamin Samuels. I'm the Senior Director for Professional Learning and Leadership. I'm also the Project Director for our self-study, that's Equity Center Pipeline Initiative. However, we call it RECIPE because we put the word race in front of it. So it's our Racial Equity Pipeline Initiative, unlike the other 7 districts who also received this grant. So joining me tonight are members of the core team, who we have Dr. Franco, who is the executive sponsor for this work. We also have Emily Donaldson, who's not here, but she's an assistant project director for this work. We have online, I believe, Ann Clark. She is a program director from Wallace Foundation, and she is also coming to us tonight from North Carolina. Thank you, Ann, for joining us. We have one of our 2 consultants here on screen tonight, Sheila Smith-Anderson. She's joining us from Kentucky. We have a second consultant, Rob Larson. He is local, but he's not here. He's vacationing, good thing for him. And we have a few of our university partners.
Roseanne, I'm on, so I can share my screen with you.
A few of our university partners here. Dr. Molly Galloway from Lewis and Clark. And I can't see who else is there. Okay. So we have other members part of the team. Many of the members are here in the room with me from the Office of Student Performance, as well as other university partners, TSBC and the ODE. So this is a self-study. We were very fortunate to be able to get this study. So let me tell you how this happened. So Wallace put out a call to maybe 90 so school districts to apply for this grant. It was narrowed down to like 40 because some of them figured they could not do this. Then it got narrowed down to like 20, and we really was very strong in our application because historically we've been doing some of these things already. And the Equity Center Pipeline Initiative really resonated with what we were doing. We are trying to always focus on being equity centered. So our history about having language about being equity centered is a strong suit. Many of the other 7 districts who received this grant do not have this language as strong. So that was a great thing. We already had partnerships with our universities. That was a second positive thing. And I think that, we really wanted to be able to, this is a study, right? So we wanted to be able to learn something and then share. So this, at the end of our 6th year, because the 5th year is when the grant ends, but the 6th year is when the researchers are going to be writing research reports, and we'll get to review those. And that information will be shared out with Oregon as plus nationwide. So this is a big thing for us. We were awarded $8.2 million over the 5-year time span. That amount de-escalates as the year go by. Our partners are Portland State University and Lewis and Clark. We chose these 2 universities because they already have partnership with us, and many of our staff go attend those schools. So what's the question about the study? The study says, what Wallace is asking all 8 districts to try to do, which include Baltimore Public School, Baltimore City Public School, Columbus City Public School, Winston-Salem, Forsyth, District of Columbia, Fresno Unified, Jefferson County District, and San Antonio Independent. And they asked us to say, well, whether and how districts can develop and implement comprehensive aligned principal pipelines that produce equity-centered leaders who have helped bring a district vision to equity to fruition. So Wallace has been doing research for 20 plus years around principal and leadership development. But this particular time, they're really focusing on equity. So we were very fortunate to receive this award, and we've been working very diligently trying to make sure PPS really shine, right? We are very proud, and we want to make PPS proud. No matter what we learn or don't learn, it's still, we'll be contributing to research, right? So we're really proud of that. So what we really believe here is that we want to move it so that our school, all of our schools have a leader who is equity-centered, has a mindset and belief that align with our leader's profile. And we have a leader profile. I'll share it with you later. It talks about how we use the Oregon Standard Language, create a profile according to what we think our leader should look like. Like I said, it's kind of in research, but I will kind of get it to you so you can see what it looks like. We have depositions. We're going to use that profile as we create documents throughout. Did I leave it there? Okay. And the profile was actually created with our district partners that you see on the screen. So we have this philosophy that we believe that in order for us to move our equity work, we have to get below the line on the iceberg where it says transformation. We know we've done historically here in Oregon that has not worked, and we want to do things a little differently. We also know that besides teachers, the school-based leader is the second most important factor in helping students with achievement and moving instruction. So we are actually focusing, this grant really focused on the principal and the principal supervisor, but the principal first. So what we are looking here for our organization is to create systemic change. We want to get unstuck. We want to move the needle. So this work is...
I'm asking the same thing. Do you want us to wait?
Yes, please wait. I'm trying to talk really fast. I can get it all in. So hold on, please.
No worries.
And if I can't answer you now, you know I'll get back at you, right? Okay,
Gotcha.
right. Okay. So this work is research-based. It is centered on a pipeline model that has 7 domains. And if you see, there are 7 on this diagram. And each of these domains are actually being led by a team lead. Their names up there on the screen. So for domain number 1, that really talks about leadership standards, is Dr. Esther Oglebehind. And then domain number 2 is talk about quality pre-service. That is the learning that happens at university, and that is Dr. Molly Galloway and Tina Acker. And then we have the selection, hiring, and placement of principals, and that is Margaret. She's here somewhere. Margaret Calvert, and I think Lorna is helping her with that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then we have the principal evaluation and support, which is 2 parts. One part is how we're going to create a new principal evaluation tool, a new job description, a new scoring guide to go along with that. That's one part. The other part is professional learning and development, and we'll talk about how we want to change how we have started to change our culture about how principals learn. Domain 5, my colleague, supervisor, Dr. Franco, has been working diligently. This is about the principal supervisor standards. We currently do not have principal supervisor standards here in Portland Public Schools, and it's not unusual. Most schools do not. But there are national standards, and Dr. Franco has already drafted a copy of what that looked like, and it's actually being socialized with the principal supervisor at this moment. You want to add anything to that?
After.
Okay, great. And then we have domain 6, and domain 6 really is a tracking system that we're trying to create. It's going to be in collaboration with HR, so we can actually use data to find out who has talent in our system, how we can use it for session planning. It's a big deal. We have taken a lot of our funding and stacked it away to support this system. And then we have, I am the lead on that, along with Derek Brown out of IT. And then sustainability, system sustainability is, in most school districts, part of this, it is the superintendent who's leading this. My name is there to help the superintendent, but usually it's the superintendent and his cabinet, because we want to be able to sustain all these domains under domain 7. Ooh, I said that really fast. Okay. All right, so our district culture, you can see there's a diagram here that talks about how we want to have a different look for our district culture. We've been working on this for quite some time. However, we're not there yet, so we still have some work to do. We recognize that, and we just want to continue to move that work forward. We want to be able to learn differently, and here is where we have incorporated, in particular, how ISC units are working together to support principals. You have the Office of School Performance, Office of Teaching and Learning, and the Office of Student Support Services. We're all working together to support the principal supervisors, to support the principals, which is a big deal here for us, because we haven't always been in collaboration, and we're really, really happy that we're able to do that. So, our principals have said to us, go to the next slide, tell me next. Our principals have said to us, they want to learn differently. They don't want to be talked at, they want to be involved differently, so we try to do different things. They asked us to be very intentional, consistent, and purposeful about their learning. They asked us to have learning timely and differentiated for them because they come in different levels and with different knowledge. They wanted to make sure the scope and sequence of learning was appropriate and timely as well. They wanted to provide input as far as what their learning is, and we do have principals input when we're creating the learning for the month, or have principals panel, so they are helping with that. And they want to have timely coaching and feedback, and then multiple modes of learning, and most importantly, to be able to learn with their peers. Okay, next slide. So we took this to heart, and we have done some things differently. So we structured Leadership Institute differently. We have it now on non-student days. We also have, when it's not on non-student days, we have it on Thursday in cohort in a school. We like that. We have collective learning. We've been focusing really on having some particular routines in place. We have increased our having affinity spaces for our staff as well. And we are always looking at how we can have new learning, but at the same time making sure it's cohesive. We are collaborating in multiple ways for learning for principals. They are using their skips to talk to each other. They have calibration around the observations that they've done in schools and in classrooms. We debrief data. We have some coaching practices. And most important, all the principals are able to have consultancy. We do all this work in collaboration with Office of Teaching and Learning, Office of Student Support Service, and OSP, and also with the principal coaches. We also have other ways of helping people learn. You want to add something with that?
Well, I want to do some at the end.
Okay, at the end? Okay, so I'm almost done.
We have to go fast.
Okay. That's okay, that's okay. And the last thing I want to talk about, go to the next slide, please, is that we have been focusing, we're not there yet, but we're focused on racial equity learning, how we bring everyone together. We still have a little bit of work for improvement, but we know that it's important for us to move our work, and our principals have asked us for that. And here, the next slide, please. So here's some of the support services that we have in place and that are very targeted and intentional. We have support for our principal supervisor, we have principal coaches, we have affinity spaces, we have external professional learning opportunities. We also have induction for all APs, VPs, and principals. Their first 3 years, they get induction support. Vice principal and assistant principal get additional support from their senior directors. We have our pipeline initiatives in place. We have our Grow Your Own programs that include aspiring leaders and our future principal programs. So the photo you saw on the front cover is our current cohort for aspiring principals who are our current APs and VPs looking to be principals for next year. Okay, I think I'll be quiet and
Great job.
Yeah.
Pull us through.
And I just want to real quickly say that, Loretta and her team have really done an outstanding job. Me coming in last year and just being able to participate and then ultimately help lead this work has been outstanding. When we're talking about working not only with PPS, Lewis and Clark, Portland State, TSPC, to not only create that equity-centered pipeline moving through, but actually being a foundation to our leader development and creating equity-centered leaders has been outstanding. And you could see, that some of the adjustments that we have made through Leadership Institute and how we've facilitated professional learning for principals is a direct result of not only the feedback that we get from leaders, but our work on Recipe. And so we're really excited about this. It absolutely has been immense. And I would say this too, this is a sustainable system of practice moving forward, right? So this can absolutely change culture, not only I would say in PPS, but statewide.
I'd just like to ask my colleagues if they're to add anything to the presentation. They are currently at a PLC So there are PLCs for university partners, PLCs for
Can you
directors.
let folks know what PLC means?
Oh, yes, of course. PLC is a personal learning community. So they're at they're at San Diego right now State, and they're learning how to move their work forward. PSU and Portland State are actually working on clinical practice so that our leaders get more practice when they come to work here for us.
Sorry.
Oh, for their work, start working here for us, and we do it in collaboration. PSU is working with our PLL team and delivering the facilitation for our future principals. There are 2 faculty members plus Dawn Gillis, who is the Director of Professional Learning here at PPS. They're working on that. And I cannot do this work without having my consultant, Sheila Smith-Anderson, and also Ann Clark, who is a director. They just help me so tremendously. And we have much more technical support that helps with communications. And we all do professional learning different times, all the time. So I'm very busy, to say the least.
I would like to add something in just the accolades for the team. You spoke earlier about the ecosystem that you're trying to develop across Portland Public Schools. Hearing just a report of the graduation rate and some things that you're trying to look across race and gender and trying to change those numbers of going from 76 graduation rate to 46 college prep, right? So how do you change that? And this is the game changer here. This is the game changer of what happens and how we support our leaders. And through all of the things that Portland has gone through the last few months, I just want to just shout out this team of keeping the line and holding the work steady. It did not slow up. It did not slack up. So that lets me know there's system sustainability. When you can go through a strike, when you can go through changes in the system, and still continue to work on the work that you feel so greatly about and how you help to support your leaders, all leaders, to become equity-centered leaders. And we believe your competencies are strong. Already, the university partners have already started to redesign their programs based on those leader competencies. So we feel like we've got a good recipe, pardon the pun, for greatness. And I'm excited to be a part of this history.
Thank you. All right, so we have 4 minutes. So I'm gonna ask the same questions to my colleagues as far as you want to ask questions, or do you just so I have them on record, or you want to email them in? I'll start on my right with Director Green.
I'm good, my friend. Thank you.
So we're gonna go back to the March.
Yeah.
I'll just send my questions in. Thank you for the presentation.
Same.
All right.
Really exciting. I love the acronym too. Recipes, descriptive, and thank you so much for your work.
And I just have 2 questions really, and we can be done.
I got one question.
Oh, okay. And then Eddie has a question. I just want to know what's the hiring data for administrators of color? You can do it over the past, either from the time this thing started or the past 24 months. I can't remember when they said it started. And also, how does the recipe work to uplift the instructional leadership work and the instructional priorities like curriculum adoption and the instructional framework? And that's all my questions. And then,
yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I mean, your passion for this, it's just infectious. I'm very excited to see the outcomes. And that's kind of my question, and you don't have to answer this now, just email or whatever, but my question is, like, how do we know, what are are there performance metrics that you use or feedback loops to figure out, like, you know, in terms of how successful the program is and how you are improving your own work as well, right? So I just want to, I guess my question is basically just, you know, it'd be nice to have some kind of metric that we can kind of see the improvement on over time, so we can share in this wonderful project and this the great work you're doing. Yeah, thank you.
all right. All right, any other ones? All right, well, we'll join the meeting and the next one starts in 2 minutes.
Okay.